Oh, where is my camera at? That was wild. I've never seen that before. Is my camera all the way off? Oh, hang on one second. Apologize, folks. Camera's not on. That's hilarious. Hey, sorry about that. I apologize. Welcome to the Scoop Order. I need to turn my camera on. So for Father's Day, you guys can give me a reminder to turn my camera on. I appreciate you guys so much. I hope you guys having a great Saturday. Beautiful day in Ohio. Great day for an official visit for Ohio State football. So again, I appreciate you guys so much. A couple commitments are looking like they're on the horizon. So we're going to get into all of that. Who is the superstar running back who's about to jump into the fold? Again, we appreciate you guys so very much. I hope you guys are having a great Father's Day, celebrating it however you can. My father passed away when I was very young. I was 12 years old. So, having a couple kids and a great wife, it makes it a very special day. For me, every day is Father's Day. They say, what do you want to do for Father's Day? It's like, well, I don't really care. Every day is Father's Day for me. When I've got my kids and my wife and a great group of people around me, like, it's easy peasy. So I just appreciate all you guys. I hope that you guys take care of the fathers or whoever are the supporters that kind of take that role. Again, I just appreciate you guys so very much. And I hope you guys are having a great weekend. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. Again, I apologize for my camera not being on when we started. So a little faux pas, but again, this is going to be a monstrous weekend for Ohio State football recruiting. Humongous weekend this weekend. And again, I think that these kids are really sharp, and when you can, if your dad's an Ohio State fan, if your dad loves you being in the Midwest and being a part of the best program in the United States, like, what's a better, cheaper, free Father's Day gift than committing on Father's Day and say, hey, Dad, guess what? You get to drive 3 hours and watch me play every Saturday in the Horseshoe, the best stadium in the United States of America. I mean, I'm telling you, like, some of these kids, they commit on Christmas or Mother's Day or Father's Day, and it's like, hey, it beats going to the mall and buying your dad a tie or a dress shirt or something he doesn't want, when you can just say, hey, Dad, I'm going to be at the best university in the United States of America. So I think we had a couple of those coming. So shout out to these kids that are really shrewd and really smart with what they're doing. I'm going to bring in my good friend Nevadabuck. Nevada, Isaiah West is I don't think he's on the bubble. It's about to explode. It's like a volcano that's like right at that eruption point where, there's a lot of great momentum with Carlos Lachlan. This kid is, you were joking in a very great way, calling him Quadzilla. His film is excellent, but he is a massive potential commitment. I talk a little bit about Isaiah West and about some of the other kids that are in town this weekend. Again, this is a huge official visit weekend. Next week's actually a little bit bigger. So we're hosting some really incredible prospects. But your thoughts on this weekend and on Isaiah West, who is likely to pop very quickly here?
Well, Isaiah West is in. Isaiah West is in, going to join the class. We've talked about it being a 3 running back class. Bo Jackson, Isaiah West, Jordan Davison's in next week. But yeah, Coach Locke has just done a great job. You pulled Isaiah West away from Kentucky. He committed a little early. Didn't think he'd have interest from some of the bigger schools, but he's a good looking running back. And it's a guy that Ohio State had a feeling was ready to go. We had a feeling he was ready to go, but he's ready to go and ready to jump in the field. Now, the guy that's a little bit of surprise that I'm hearing maybe on, or in the boat, on the boat, in the boat, whatever, is Micah DeBose, the offensive lineman from Alabama, who's got the Ohio ties, got the grandparents from Ohio, and was kind of a sneaky guy, kind of a guy that kind of came in a little bit under the radar, but I think he might be the next O-line commit. And I've talked about this class being 5 or 6 guys. I've talked about this class being one of the better offensive line classes, if not the best offensive line class in school history, at least on paper. I think this is the next domino to fall. So you could have a terrific running back and a terrific offensive lineman jumping in from a class of, or a weekend of great potential commits. And as you said, last week was awesome. Next week is even better. So the OSU recruiting train just keeps on trucking.
Totally agree. We got Isaiah's film on. Again, he's from St. Joe's. Again, he's the guy that's really active in their passing game. I was watching not just this tape, but there's a lot of tape of him catching the swing passes on the backfield. I think that for Chip Kelly's offense, this is an underrated superstar. This is a kid that's got a lot of ability. Big time program. I mean, St. Joe's in Philly is as good a football as you can find. So really excited about this kid. I think he's got a bright future. Like I said, we called him Quadzilla because he is a specimen of a running back. And in the right offense, again, you see him running the read option, and I always get excited when I watch these kids run a similar offense to what Ohio State runs. So he's used to some of the read option stuff, some of the the kind of the outlet pass stuff. We do a lot of short game passing, but when you see the violence and the explosion and the toughness of the running game, I think that it's a huge add to what you're trying to do as an offense with Chip Kelly at the helm. I think that as much as people like to crucify offensive lines and quarterbacks and play callers in the running back, or excuse me, in the running game, I think that having a violent, tough runner can kind of be like a giant deodorant stick. So when you have a kid like this who's tough and he's fast and he's violent, he's not scared to get dirty, get his nails dirty. I think that these are the kind of guys that like running backs, or excuse me, offensive lines like to rally around, because there's I don't want to go too deep into it, but there's a very palpable effect when you have a running back who wears on opposing teams, when there's a running back that wears on linebackers and safeties and corners. And like I played with Antonio Pittman, who is exceptionally violent. Played with Beanie Wells, who was a bigger he wasn't as violent as Pitt, but Beanie was bigger, stronger, faster than Pitt. So when we played Wisconsin and Michigan and teams down the stretch, Beanie was the guy that won those games for us. I mean, he ran for over 200 yards 3 times in the last 4 games because, he was the guy that was violent. And, if you're a cornerback or a safety or a will linebacker or a weak side guy, you're going to make a business decision if Beanie's coming, because Beanie's 230, runs a 4.3. If you want to tackle him, it might end your career because he's so physical and violent. And this is the kind of kid that this is. And again, I love seeing him catching the ball in space, making a move and rolling. Cause he's, when I watch his initial tape, is a lot of physicality, a lot of interior runs, a lot of, breaking tackles, but you get him out on the edge, doing some of the stuff that Chip does. And again, my favorite thing about when we're recruiting a skill guy is when he runs a lot of the same stuff that Ohio State runs. So when you see him running speed sweeps and some of the horizontal stuff that I know Chip Kelly likes to run, but then he runs violently running tight zone. I think that it's a huge addition for Ohio State. And again, throwing him the ball, because if there's one thing I'm critical of with Ohio State, and again, our offense has been top 5 in the country since Ryan basically took over. To me, I think that I think we could utilize our running backs a little bit more in the passing game, take a little bit of the heat off of the quarterbacks, a little bit off the O-line. So to me, I'm not critical of much that Ryan Day does on the offensive side of the ball because he's so good and he's so advanced. But to me, if we got our running backs a little, and again, this is like an extended handoff. So I'm gonna rewind this real quick, because these are the kind of plays that I think Trey Henderson and Quinshot can run. So you motion him, and again, this isn't some crazy, wild, difficult progression. This is literally okay, we've got man up. Hang on, my pen go on. My pen's out of battery. So if you're man up here, and then you go, they're cheating up a little bit. So they're man to man here. They're bringing some pressure. You see the pressure show up, and the guy. This is when you're doing. This isn't really 4D chess because this is so simple. But you look at this, and it's okay, you're man here, you're man here, you're man here. So who's covering this guy when he goes in motion? So he starts off, in this up motion next to the quarterback. So again, you guys might not all be mathematicians, but cat coverage. You got this cat. You got this cat. You got this cat. This guy's blitzing off the edge. So who's guarding this guy? And you put him in motion. It's him. So you have an inside linebacker covering your tailback. And when he gets a head start like this, look, I mean, he motions out in a flare, and he hasn't moved yet, and he's got him in coverage. So all of a sudden, and again, this has to be a blown assignment because he has to go with him. But all of a sudden, he turns and looks at the ball, and again, this is crazy. So easy catch, run, block, block, block. He's never making that play in a billion years. And it's a walk-in touchdown. So again, those are the kind of matchups that I think with Trey and Quinshawn, we could do that would be more advantageous. But I'm just telling you, like, I love this kid. I love his mentality. He is a weight room junkie, which is my favorite kind of running back. You say like Maurice Clarett was a weight room monster, 700-pound squat guy as a freshman. Obviously didn't last very long at Ohio State. It was 1 year. But when he was there, I mean, he broke like every record from a strength perspective, not speed, but strength. And he ran with vision and toughness, and won us the national title. And Ezekiel Elliott was the same way, except Ezekiel was a much faster, better version, as opposed to Maurice Clarett. But Nevada, I don't know, man. I love studying great running backs because I just know what they can add to an offensive line, into an offense, and I think Isaiah West could be that guy. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's funny because one of the, when I was asking guys at Ohio State about Isaiah West, and the first two things they talked about was his pass receiving and his blocking, which is really unusual for a running back. You usually don't hear guys talk about that, but he's a physical kid. He's a physical kid. He's kind of that prototypical, running back that you want in 2024 that can kind of do a little bit of everything. But he's hard nosed, man. He's physical, and for Ohio State, I mean, you don't want to say it, but I know you feel like Ohio State's lost a little bit of their physical edge, a little bit of that physicality that Ohio State's been known for, and having guys like Chip Kelly calling the offense, having running backs I like Isaiah West back there, I think help us get back to where we want to get to. And he's an exciting back. He's an exciting kid. I think he's a kid that can do a little bit of everything, and I'm excited to see him in this offense.
I mean, I think that, like at the zenith was Urban in 13 when we had 6.7 yards a carry. I think I posted on the board. So, you get a first down every 10 yards and you average 6.7 a carry. Like, that's substantial. And we've gone kind of downhill since then, despite having similar talent at the running back position. I mean, I would argue Trey Henderson and Quinn, Trey Henderson's every bit as talented as Carlos Hyde. But, when you don't inflict violence and pain in the early downs of, the early quarters, first and second quarter, like, you get into the later game and you're not, guys, you don't bust those big ones. And again, I know that it's old fashioned and old timey, and I'm not saying let's go back to Trestle Ball, but as much as people dog out Trestle Ball, like I'm telling you, we used to beat people into a pulp, and by the fourth quarter, we would, violate them because they'd be tired of getting double teamed and beat down. And I think that that's something that is weatherproof. I think it's something that, Ryan should have a little bit more awareness of and have in his holster in case we have a bad weather game. So I'm telling you, like in the Big Ten, man, you could go in November and go play Michigan, Michigan State, Iowa, Wisconsin in snow, rain, sleet, freezing rain, and that gorgeous, beautiful throwing game doesn't really matter. And again, I've been embarrassed in my life before, but there was nothing I've ever been more embarrassed by than when Gene Smith said that we should give up a home playoff game to play at Lucas Oil so that we wouldn't have to play in the elements. And I'm like, guys, like, that's what football is. Like, I mean, you ever see the Patriots play the Colts in the snow in Foxborough? And, I mean, that's, you got to be, that's what makes football beautiful. It's like, it's not always going to be, 70 and sunny and clear skies and no precipitation. I mean, you get here for whatever. And again, when I played, I hated rain. I hated snow. I hated all that, especially in 06, because like we had Ted and Tony. So it's like, we have two of the best receivers in the nation. Troy Smith. It's like, if all of a sudden we have to play rugby and play ground and pound like that eliminates literally two of the top 5 players on our team between Ted Ginn and Gonzo, let alone Troy, who's the best player on our team. So like 3 of our top 5 guys on the team really aren't going to participate if it's a rainy day. But you still have to have that in your quiver, because that's what football is. And especially in the Big Ten, man, you got to be ready to go. And that's why, like, again, I go into it, I wax poetic, I always smile till the day I die about the 07 Michigan game. We wake up, it's freezing rain. I'm talking 35 degrees, raining, sleeting, disgusting. And we ran the ball like 50 times. We ran like 3 different plays the whole game. Todd Beckman threw it like 3 times. One of them was an interception. And after you see that pick, like Tress literally did not call another pass for the rest of the day. So we went like, I mean, it was literally like Woody Hayes came out of the ground and called the plays that day. And it was awesome because like we just pulverized them and our defense was nails, and we beat them 14-3. So, again, I think that this is the kind of kid you have to be able to win that kind of game. You have to have that physical, violent running back who's not scared to get 3 yards and put his shoulder into somebody and inflict violence and harm on them, because that's what it takes to win in the Big Ten. Nevada, any thoughts? And we can get into a couple of super chats that have been popping up.
No, I totally agree with you. I just, I think people forget how young a coach Ryan Day is, and Ryan Day is cutting his teeth on the job. He's kind of growing on the job. I think some of the stuff that he did at the beginning was great. I think some of the stuff he did was less than great, but I think he's rectified a lot of those situations by improving the quality of his staff, kind of reassessing kind of what it takes to be a great Big Ten football team, and I think Ohio State's poised to for obviously a dynastic, great run right now. But look, Ryan Day wasn't a finished product when we get him, but he's getting there, and once he does start figuring it out, it's he's going to be tough to beat. And he's young enough that he could be here for a really long time. So the future is really, really bright.
Well, I think something that people don't talk about enough is with Ryan, did he really have A plus S tier legitimate coaches around him to advise him? Because again, like Urban, Urban, when he had Dan Mullen and Charlie Strong and Charlie went on to be the head coach at Texas, Dan Mullen head coach at Mississippi State, later the head coach at Florida. He had A tier guys around him. And when that staff went through the basement and those guys left, and all of a sudden in 2010, I mean, he was down to, kind of the doldrums of his staff, and he wasn't nearly as effective. And again, they're not as good as not just the play calling, but recruiting, retaining talent, the whole nine. So I don't know if Ryan's really had a great staff yet. I mean, he had Kerry Combs and Jeff Hafley as his coordinators. Jeff Hafley, I think Jeff Hafley's okay. I know people like to fawn over him, but I'm like, if you said, Kirk, you get to call the defense in 19, I'm like, okay, that's great. Chase Young, go kill the quarterback. Baron Browning, go kill the quarterback. Arnett, Fuller, Okuda. You guys lock everybody down. Sean Wade in the nick. I mean, that was the most talented defense I've seen in 20 years at Ohio State. So, he was there for 1 year and dipped out, went to Boston College, and was an abject disaster there, because I don't think he's that great. I think that, he's young and he gets his fade tapered up, and again, when you have really stupid athletic directors like Martin Jarman, they'll hire somebody like that and say, oh yeah, this Ohio State guy and DC and our defense is awesome. I'm like, dude, he's not bringing Chase Young with him. He's not bringing a lot of these monsters that he had on the team with him. So again, he was a disaster. He literally left Boston College high and dry and went to the Packers as a DC. So again, he knew he was going to get fired up this year, and he knew his team was going to be terrible this year. So kind of is what it is. And then you had Kerry Combs, who was a disaster. He's back to being the corners coach of Cincinnati. Luke Fickell didn't take him to Wisconsin. So tells you all you need to know about Kerry. But I think you look at offensively, I mean, he had, he's gone through a bunch of OCs. He had Yurcich the first year. He had Corey Dess was in the OC, but Corey was, the quarterback's coach, which is kind of where the OC sits at. Kevin Wilson was dynamic. I mean, Kevin Wilson's one of the best coaches in the history of college football, especially from an offensive coordinator standpoint. He's next to Chip Kelly in my book, but did he have full reign? And when Wilson's coaching the tight ends, he really should be coaching the quarterbacks. And I don't think you had that symmetry that you have now. Now, the perfect meta when you're designing a coaching staff is that your offensive coordinator is also your quarterback's coach, because your quarterback is the most important player in the entire offense. As much as I love acting like the offensive line is incredibly critical, that offensive coordinator and that quarterback better be on the exact same wavelength, or else you have no shot. And Wilson didn't get that opportunity to be the quarterback's coach because Ryan wanted to do it. But now Chip Kelly, who's basically Ryan's, mentor and was his coach and taught Ryan how to play quarterback. Now he gets to run the show. So I think Ryan gets a breath of fresh air where it's man, I have a guy who believes in me more than he believed in Ryan Day when nobody else did. And now he gets to sit there and say, Ryan, this is what I think we should do on offense. This is who I think we should take a quarterback. This is what I think we should do with our reps. And Ryan will be like, okay, coach, you know more than I do because you taught me everything, and now now we get to be on the same team, and I get to go run the whole organization and fundraise and do the rest. So again, I'm just excited for where Ryan's at now because I don't think he's ever had this kind of help before. And when you're leading an organization like Ryan Day is, like, you're at the mercy of your help. If your help isn't up to snuff, then it's going to be a very difficult task to get everything done. But I think Ryan is, I think he's fired up. And again, our roster is so good. It's so impossibly good that, this is the year to cash the chips in. All right, Nevada, any final thoughts? And we'll get into some super chats.
No, I totally agree with you. I think this is. I hate to say national championship or bust, but this season is national championship or bust. It's all there for Ryan. He's just got to go take it.
I mean, I just, and again, like, people, they don't like the semantics of saying something that gaudy or it's national, but like, it really is. I mean, and I've been on, '05 was like that, '06 was like that. And it's like, you got to cash those chips in. I mean, when you've got four aces, like Ryan Day, I mean, he has four aces in the poker hand to start the season. So it's like, at some point you got to cash those in, because if you don't, then, I don't know if we ever will, because I mean, this is the best offense, the best defense combined I've seen ever. And the coaching staff is absolutely ridiculous. So, let's get into these super chats. Blue Wolverine, thank you for the 5. God, I love these emojis, are hilarious. Thank you for the 5. Hippo character with stars growing in his eyes, pumping his arms in the air with the word hype pulsating above him. Don't know what that means. Appreciate the 5. Nevada, anything on the hippo character with the stars growing? Your thoughts?
I don't know what that means, but I'm sure it's super awesome, and I'm glad that they spell it out for us there.
I love those. Those are great. Paul Lewis, what is up, brother? I hope you're good. See you soon. Hopefully, I'll see you on the meetup on the 29th, Twin Peaks Players Parkway. Put on your calendar. It's about to be incredible. Excited for it. Hi, guys. Any updates on Julian Sayin? Has he moved closer to being the backup? Nevada, I'll let you take this one first. I mean, because I think Julian Sayin is about to be unbelievable at Ohio State. But what are your thoughts first?
Yeah, look, he's going to be amazing. Julian Sayin is the future. But at the quarterback position, there's no substitute quite like experience. And what you've got is you've got Will Howard. He's got 36 starts or 37 starts or something like that in big time college football. And you've got Devin Brown, who's got 2 full years in the system. So while I could not be more bullish about the prospect for Julian Sayin going forward and about where he's going to fit on the depth chart, and he's doing great. And the only thing that he needs to really improve is size and strength. And the strength will come. The size, he's as big as he's going to get. So I don't think he's going to get much taller. But he just needs time, a little bit of strength and experience with the offense, and he's going to be terrific. But I personally think it's going to be tough for him to beat out Devin Brown, even though I know that Ryan Day's objective is to have him ready to play meaningful minutes this year, because they don't want him portaling out. They don't want him getting wandering eyes about things. So they couldn't be more bullish about him, and I'm right there. I think he's going to be terrific at Ohio State.
Who's your comparison for him?
I mean, I don't know if we've ever really had a comparison like him at Ohio State. You said Aaron Rodgers. I think that's about as good a comparison as I can come up. I mean, he's just really. I mean, maybe Quinn Ewers. Maybe. I mean, he's a guy that just knows where to go with the ball. The ball comes out of his hand really effortlessly. Can move around in the pocket, and just a great kid and a great quarterback.
Yeah, I think he's Rodgers. I mean, just from his stature, his ability to process, and his the whip in his arm, it just seems like that. I've got Julian's film playing right now, but I mean, that's what I feel like he is. And like Aaron Rodgers isn't Godzilla. He's not Roethlisberger or Rivers or some of these 6'6", 250-pound quarterbacks. But he's survived. I mean, he's 40 and he's going into year. I mean, he got drafted in '05, and I mean or '06. I mean, he was an AJ Hawks drafted. I mean, he was a year before AJ. So, I mean, he got drafted in '05 and he's still going. So he's year 20 and he's not the biggest guy in the world. So I think that that's a very good case study because I think that, size is a little bit overrated. I think that you need to be a big dude to survive in the league because when you've got Miles Garrett and Cam Hayward and Nick Bosa hitting you, like it's going to be, kind of a miserable experience. But I think that, as these guys, have become more adept at avoiding contact and getting rid of the ball. I think this guy's he's so perfect for Ryan and Chip Kelly's offense and the National Football League's offense. And he's going to be starting. And like I said, every time I talk about this kid, I'm just like, you guys can say, okay, Kirk, you're hype monster, you're leading us on, whatever. But it's like, Ryan Day said in his press conference that he has to be ready to play against Oregon, which is the first major game that we have of the year. Oregon, Penn State, Michigan. And no coach says that about a freshman quarterback. They never say, oh, this freshman who's behind Devin Brown and Lincoln Keenholz and you came in with Aaron Nolan has to be ready to go. But something possessed Ryan Day and made him say that, which again, I'm context clues and I've been around the block. And again, I've I've never heard Urban Meyer when he was a coach say, oh, this true freshman quarterback, unless it was Tebow and like a running package, he said, oh, this true freshman has to be ready to go. Because this guy he's not a package guy. He's not a Cam Newton or a Tebow where you could put him in as a goal line running back, fullback, whatever, like they did with Tebow in '06. This guy, he'd be in the game to throw it. So, when Ryan says that, I mean, gigantic eyebrows raised, but I think that that's where we're at. And I think that this is a kid that, if Aaron Nolan didn't have a couple hiccups when he first got here, like, I don't think we'd take this kid. But, it was kind of the stars aligned where Aaron Nolan had a couple of hiccups when he first got here. Nick Saban retired. Julian Sain was questioning what was going on at Bama, and all of a sudden, magically, like he ends up a Buckeye. And again, this is why when a year ago everybody was having conniptions about us. Oh my God, how are we going to survive not having Dylan Raiola in the class and Dylan Raiola is flipping and going to Georgia or Nebraska or where we ended up at. Like, I'm like, well, we don't get Julian Sain who's better than him. So, like when people have these, these episodes, we're like, oh my God, how are we going to start? I'm like, well, let's see who we end up getting again. Because, with Ryan Day, if there's one thing I would bet my house on, which is not Germany soccer, which again, Nevada inside joke. If it's not Germany soccer, I would bet my house on Ryan Day always having your first round pick in that quarterback room because he'll clean house. And again, he might not have it every year, but he will not rest until he has a top 5 quarterback in the nation and a guy that could potentially be a first rounder. Because again, when he's made big time hay, it's been with Haskins, Fields, Stroud. Because he doesn't want to go to another Cotton Bowl with a Kyle McCord at quarterback. He needs a big time guy because that's what it takes to win. You look at who wins the Super Bowls, it's Pat Mahomes. It's the big dogs. So Nevada, any final thoughts on that before we boogie along?
No, I think Julian Sain's kind of a rare talent, and I think for Ryan, he's got a little bit of a conundrum because you've got Devin Brown who you want to keep around, who's really kind of hanging in there in terms of doing things, but Julian's the future, and the future, as far as I'm concerned, it could be now. And so I think we'll see Julian Sain this year, and I think we'll see him in games that matter.
Yeah, I think that the hard part for some of these guys, and again, like it's. I played with quarterbacks that, when I was at Ohio State that could have transferred out and left and, gone and played somewhere. But like, I think that, a lot of these guys are as faithful as their options because when you look at, Kyle McCord, who is our starter, Kyle McCord by definition in Ryan Day's eyes was better than, Devin Brown and Lincoln Keenholz and the like. But, when he hit the portal, he hit it up at Syracuse. And again, I've talked ad nauseum. Syracuse is terrible. They lost 45-0 in their bowl game. New coaching staff, especially defensive staff from Georgia. Like, so he didn't get to go to Oklahoma or SC or Florida State or Florida. So if I'm Devin or Lincoln, and, from what I know, those guys, their best offers to go start this year were in Iowa. So, sometimes, and again, I'm not trying to denigrate them. I think those guys would rather stay here and compete and try to have a shot to, chip in a chair to win the Ohio State job next year. When you have J.J. Smith and you have, Ennis and Tate and whoever, Jelani Thurman at tight end, as opposed to going to Iowa, which is like, it's like death's door if you're a quarterback and you're trying to really make it into the league. So it's going to be a very interesting year. Again, I think Will Howard's going to be dominant, and I'm really excited to see what he can do. And again, it's not just me, bloviating and saying that, Will Howard's going to be great. I mean, Ryan Day emptied the clip to get that kid. I mean, I know what he spent NIL to get Will Howard, and it was pretty penny. So, I mean, Ryan believes in him. And, for Ryan, this is a year where he's got a lot on the line. I mean, you got to think about, like, between beating Michigan, make the playoffs, win the national championship, like, he's got like this kind of tiered system where he's got to go win some games this year. And I mean, with this team, there's no reason he won't. And I believe he's going to have a huge year. I believe he's going to win the national championship, but this will be a very, very huge year for Ryan. And he picked Will Howard to be kind of the captain of the ship. So, again, we'll see how good his judgment is. Patriot, thank you for the 20. Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for being a Patriot and supporting our country. Again, stand up for your country. We love our country. And that's not a lot of these Ohio State podcasts. They're not going to say how much they love this country, but we do on Buckeye Scoop. So we thank you for that. For the troops, God bless all the good fathers out there in Nevada OH. And again, a humongous shout out to our troops that are abroad. They cannot be home with their families on Father's Day. Again, I know how significant that is and how much that is likely painful. Appreciate you guys. We think about you guys nonstop. Thank you guys for being a part of our program. Thank you to Patriot and a lot of you for bringing in Pay It Forward. We sign up a lot of our overseas members to BuckeyeScoop.com memberships with that. And it gives them a little bit of levity, a little bit of fun when they're abroad and things are a little tougher. So, again, we thank you guys for supporting them. Nevada, the Patriot tossed us a 20. And, again, thank you for donating to Pay It Forward. It says, for the troops, God bless all the good fathers out there. OH, Nevada, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, just I'm so generous, so nice, and we'd appreciate you paying it forward. And Father's Day is, I mean, look, as a father, I've said it many times. My dad was Air Force, but he always made time for us. Despite having flight time and being all over and being deployed, he always had time to coach my teams and do all that stuff. And he tried to be that kind of father for my kids and try to set that example. But I appreciate everybody paying it forward and taking care of the troops. And I hope everybody has a great Father's Day tomorrow.
I totally agree. We got a huge weekend this weekend. Again, this is going to be a very interesting time when we've got a lot of these visits. Mika DeBose is going to be a huge guy to monitor. Nevada, as we get a little deeper in this weekend, Saturday, Sunday it wraps up. Everyone flies home. What are your thoughts? Because I think that there's a lot of palpable momentum with what's going on in the recruiting at Ohio State, but what could turn this? This is already the highest rated class maybe we've ever had. What could make this the best class in the history of college football? Because I think that we're right on the kind of the precipice of that, because we've got big time commits, big time officials. We've got guys that are like Isaiah West and Phillip Bell and Micah DeBose, Carter Lowe's here who's already committed. Josh Petty's a monster, 5-star guy. Big time tackles this weekend. Nathaniel Osun-Boateng, who I think James loves. He's got a lot of really good guys here from that linebacker class. Messiah Delholm. What are your thoughts on this weekend? Because again, we've got a nice mix of superstar uncommitted guys and a few guys like Carter Lowe, Messiah Delholm that are committed and ready to rock and help out. What are your thoughts?
Well, I just I want to see on guys like Josh Petty. I want to see if we've moved the dial with him. I mean, everybody's picking him to Florida State. His sister goes to Florida State. And everybody's been saying Florida State, Florida State. I want to see, as Ohio State, as the momentum swung so much that we can swing a kid like that and get him thinking about Ohio State. Same thing with Nathaniel Osun-Boateng. Heavy lean to Notre Dame, but could we make some? Can we make some hay with some of these guys that are looking to go elsewhere? How good is the OSU recruiting machine? If we pick up Isaiah West and we pick up DeBose, like I think we're going to. That already is unbelievable. But you're asking about what could take it to epic level. Well, let's flip one of these guys that look like they're going to some other school and see if we can reel them in. That would certainly take this class from good to great, and Ohio State's certainly capable of doing that.
And I apologize. Beside the home is not committed. London Merritt is committed, so I got those screwed up. So I apologize for that. But yeah, this is going to be a monstrous class. I'm really excited to see what these guys can do. We have another visit coming next week, and next week's visit is one. It's got the big names, man. We got some guys that people are really, really excited about. David Sanders Jr. is coming next week. Nevada. Tavian St. Clair is actually taking his real official visit. Jordan Davidson. Nate Roberts is already in the fold. Josh Backstrom. Eli Lee is in the fold. Zion Grady. Jaden Harmon. Devin Sanchez. Naheem Alford. The two best corners in America. Dorian Brew. Carson Snead. I mean, this is going to be a wild 2 weeks, but your thoughts on this week going into next week? Because I know Tavian St. Clair has been he's been the hard charger, leading the cause to do everything correctly. But man, David Sanders Jr. coming next week is going to be huge. What are your thoughts on the recruiting momentum? Again, we've got as talented of a crew coming over these next 2 weeks as we've ever had. But what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, David Sanders is obviously one of those linchpin guys that you want to get, that you got to get, that Ohio State thinks that they're going to get. And, you get a guy like that, you bring him in, Ohio State's surrounding him with a lot of, of firepower in terms of the committed guys that are committed to the class already, that are ready to kind of, for Ohio State, when you have Tavian St. Clair right down the road, it's so nice because he's like, he's a 5-star kid. He's very recognizable. He's a quarterback, and, he can take 4 or 5 unofficial visits to your school because he's right down the road. But to have him on his official visit, to have him there with David Sanders, I'm sure those two will be inseparable. And I think Ohio State's going to close the deal because they've been closing the deal on everybody. There's no reason to bet against them right now in recruiting battles. They're winning them. I think Ohio State's well positioned with Sanders. I think they've got it from the Paris Johnson connection to the academic standards to the depth chart to the coaching. I think they've been pushing all the buttons right, and I think they get a big commitment. And I think David Sanders is going to be part of the class.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, like when it's between us and Clemson, I know that they've got, the guy from Ole Miss there, but I think that when you're looking at, as a business decision, where do you want to send your kid? I think that you have to go to Ohio State, especially if he's like, I mean, when he says that he's a humongous Paris Johnson fan, and again, I've talked to Nazi. I'm gonna throw David's his highlights up. I mean, he looks like Paris on film. He's athletic like Paris. He's light in his feet. He's tall. This is the kind of kid that the biggest thing that you need to figure out if you're mom, dad, or David is you just can't screw it up. You have to do things the right way. You have to find the right place to develop you because there's nothing that's more terrible than when a kid like this goes to the wrong place, doesn't get developed, and he ends up being like a 7th round pick. Again, like Chantrell Henderson is a great example because Chantrell was the guy that, we were in on. Everyone remembers Jim Tressel sitting on his little sofa with, his little socks on or whatever. And, like he ends up going to SC. SC gets hit by a nuclear strike when all of a sudden, they get the death penalty, and he's able to opt out of his letter of intent. He transferred to the Hurricanes, and in 2010 when we played the Hurricanes, like he was on the team and he traveled. When we smoked him, when we had Terrell as our quarterback in 2010, we had the Hurricanes in the shoe, and like Chantrell didn't play that year, and he ended up barely playing it at Miami. Didn't get developed. Was a fat turd. Ended up falling out of his pro day because he was so out of shape and so, stupid. And he got drafted, I think 6th, 7th round because he was just so big and so talented. But if he had something above like a chimpanzee coaching him, he would say, well, this guy's a 1st rounder, top 10 pick because he was 6'8", 330, could move his feet. But he was never grinded. Like if that kid would have been at Ohio State in 12 with Urban, he's a top 10 pick easily, playing right tackle for us, and probably plays 10, 15 in the league and gets 50, 60 billion. But these kids, I'll never forget, and you guys don't remember this name, but I'll remember for the rest of my life. My senior year of high school, the number one tackle in the United States of America was a kid named Jory Adams, Jorie Adams, and he looked like a monster, big, tall, lean dude, and what the Texas A&M. I honestly, I don't think he started a single game in his career. So that was the guy that was the number one guy in the entire country, 6'8", 300 pounds. Never played a single game or never started a single game at A&M, and who knows where he ended up. So I think that that's why when you're a kid like David Sanders, like if I'm mom, dad, whoever, I'm like, okay, let me see how have you developed my kids like my son. Again, like Justin Fry and Ryan Day and Mickey Marotti can say, look, this is what we did for Paris because you're the same thing as Paris. You're going to be, tall, angular, lean. We'll add some weight to you, add some mass to you, enhance your speed, your strength, develop you spiritually, emotionally. We'll get we'll get you graduated in 3 years. We'll get you into grad school. So that when you're done in the NFL, we got. I mean, Paris Johnson. Again, Paris Johnson's mom, Monica Daniels, it was Monica Johnson. She married Mike Daniels. Is the smartest mom I've ever been around. Because she literally had Gene Smith and John Bruno and the people that run academics at Ohio State say, okay, my kid's gonna go to the league, but you said that you would pay for his grad school, so I want that in writing, so that when he's done in the league, you guys will pay for his MBA. And so they did it. They said, okay, he has this. Here's his little thing, because if you're an Ohio State football player and you graduate after 3 years, like a lot of smart kids do, you can get your grad school done while you're playing football because they pay for it for as long as you're eligible. And she's like, well, my son's going to be a top 5 pick or 6 pick, or he end up being. So, well, don't penalize my kid because he's a great football player that you guys could use to recruit, and he's got a tree in the Grove and should have been a captain as a junior. So they got ready. So when he's done playing for the Cardinals, he's made $200 million. He's still going to come back to Ohio State and get a free $150,000 or $200,000 degree because, again, that's what shrewd negotiators and very smart women do, like Monica. Nevada, we could wrap this thing up. Any final thoughts? David Sanders next weekend, big weekend this weekend, but your thoughts?
Weston DeBose, I'm calling him into the class this week. I think we get 2. And I think the recruiting momentum continues into next year, or excuse me, into next week. And I think the class finishes strong, but I'm calling Weston DeBose into the class.
Is that Micah DeBose?
That's him. Or Micah, whatever you want to call him.
Is Weston DeBose?
Yeah, Weston, whatever DeBose.
Weston Micah DeBose. Okay.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Okay. Buckeye BA, thanks for the buck. I appreciate you, my friend. If you have a question, throw it in the chat. Yeah, I think he's in. He's an Ohio kid. Family's in Ohio. He's from Bama, like you pointed out earlier in the show. We've got one more from Blue Wolverine before we wrap this thing up. Thanks for the 20, Blue Wolverine. Appreciate you. Michigan has Mr. Brightside and announcing Slippery Rock scores during the game. Is there any lesser-known OSU traditions other fan bases might not know about? Well, I think most fan bases probably don't know about Hang On Sloopy because no one in the universe has ever heard of that song unless you've been at an Ohio State game where they play that after the third quarter and they play kind of all the time. Hang On Sloopy. You guys can Google that. I mean, I don't know, Nevada. I'll ask you this. Again, Blue Wolverine, thank you for the 20. Michigan has Mr. Brightside in announcing Slippery Rock scores during the game. Is there any lesser-known OSU traditions other fan bases might not know about? Other than, Nevadabuck setting he's like the Joe, what Joey Chestnut is to hot dogs is what Nevadabuck is to draining like vats of hot cocoa when it's, anything below 60 degrees, like he's just draining that stuff. So that might be a tradition that is unlike any other, kind of like the Masters with Nevada. But Nevada, are there any lesser known OSU traditions that you would like to inform the fan bases about?
Yeah, if you give millions of dollars to Ohio State and they put a sign up outside the thing, they'll take it down and then they'll tell you that you never had a sign in front of the facility. So that's a lesser known tradition, but one that I'm all too familiar with.
Oh, you can give a lot of money to Ohio State and they still don't treat you very good, do they? Not really.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
That is
it's a tradition. It's a tradition like none other.
Yes, I'm gonna let you be like Jim Nantz on that. A tradition like any other. You give your money to Ohio State and they treat you like all they ask you is, When's the next check coming? So, all right, well,
Exactly.
let's wrap this thing up. Appreciate you guys as always. Thank you, all you guys who have tuned in today. Another great Saturday. We got some great hockey coming on, some good soccer with the Copa and the rest of it on. A couple of friendlies. So I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Again, if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. Again, we're a little shorter tonight because we've got Father's Day, festivities, dinners, whatever. So it's going to be a good night tonight. So I appreciate you guys so much. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Go Bucks.